Have you ever wanted to create a clean, repeating diamond pattern in Procreate, but weren't sure how to build a tile properly? In this tutorial, I'll show you the full process from start to finish. We'll set up the canvas, create the base diamond shape, and use what I call the scaling down method to build different pattern tiles. Then I'll show you how to add colour, including single colour, two-tone, and multicolour variations. By the end, you'll have a finished pattern tile that's ready to export and use in your own designs. Let's get started. Let's start by setting up our canvas. With Procreate open, tap the plus icon in the top right corner of the screen. This will open a list of default and saved canvas sizes. To create a new custom canvas, tap the New Canvas icon in the top right corner of the pop-up window. You'll now see the canvas settings. At the bottom of the screen is the number keypad, and to the left are the measurement options. For this tutorial, choose inches. Type in 12 to set the width to 12 inches. Then tap the height field and type in 12 again. This will give us a 12 by 12 inch canvas. Next, check that the DPI is set to 300. This helps keep the design nice and sharp, especially if you want to print it later. Now on the left hand side, tap Colour Profile. Choose CMYK if your design is going to be printed onto products or surfaces. Choose RGB if your design is going to be used digitally, such as for social media, websites, or anything viewed on a screen. When everything is set, tap the tick icon in the top right corner to create your canvas. Tap the Colour button to open the Colour panel. At the bottom of the panel, select Disk. Choose a solid black by double tapping inside the black area of the colour disc. Then drag the colour onto the canvas to fill it. Next, tap the Transform tool. This opens the transform settings at the bottom of the screen. Make sure Uniform is selected. Then tap the snapping icon to open the snapping settings. Check that both magnetics and snapping are switched on. Also make sure the distance and velocity sliders are set to maximum. Tap snapping again to close the snapping settings. Now tap Rotate 45 degrees. Then tap Fit to Canvas. Tap the Transform tool again to deselect. Now open the Layers panel. We're going to duplicate our diamond shape. Swipe left on the layer and tap Duplicate. On the bottom diamond layer, tap the Visibility checkbox to hide it. Make sure the top diamond layer is selected. We're now going to use what I'll call the scaling down method to create our first pattern tile. I'll walk you through it carefully the first couple of times, and then we'll repeat the same process as needed throughout the tutorial. Tap the Transform tool, then use the top right corner node to drag towards the centre point. Tap the Transform tool again to deselect. Open the Layers panel and duplicate this layer. Tap the Transform tool, then drag this duplicate up to the top left corner of the canvas. When it snaps into place, deselect it. Open the Layers panel again and merge the two visible diamond layers together using a pinch gesture. Duplicate this merged layer. Tap the Transform tool, then drag the duplicate across to the right hand side of the canvas until it snaps perfectly into place. Deselect it Go back to the Layers panel and merge these two layers together. You should now have your first diamond pattern layer. Duplicate this layer, then hide the original one. With the duplicated layer selected, tap the Transform tool. And just like before, scale it down to an exact quarter of the canvas. Deselect it, open the Layers panel and duplicate this layer. Tap the Transform tool, then drag the duplicate up to the top left corner until it snaps perfectly into place. Deselect it, open the Layers panel and merge these two layers together. Duplicate the merged layer. Tap the Transform tool, then drag it to the right until it snaps into place. Deselect it. Go back to the Layers panel and merge these two layers together. You should now have a second, smaller scale diamond pattern. Duplicate this layer, then tap, hold and drag the layer underneath the selected layer onto the previous diamond pattern layer. This will create a group. Grouping your pattern layers like this is a great way to keep different scales organised in one place. Hide the group, then collapse it by tapping the small arrow icon next to the group name. Now make sure the visible diamond layer is selected. Repeat the scale down method 2 more times or more if needed, until you reach the scale you want. Once the next pattern is complete and you've duplicated it, tap, hold and drag that layer into the group as well. Double tap the group name, New Group, and rename it to Diamond Pattern. At this point you can open the group and organise a layer in order of size if you like. Then collapse the group. Now select the original diamond layer and tap the visibility checkbox to make it visible again. Tap the Transform tool and choose Freeform. Drag the centre node on the right hand side over to the centre of the canvas. Then switch back to Uniform and tap the Transform tool again to apply the change. Open the Layers panel and duplicate this layer. Tap the Transform tool, then drag the duplicate to the right hand side of the canvas. Once it snaps into place, deselect it. Open the Layers panel and merge the two layers together. Duplicate this merged layer, then hide the original underneath. Now repeat the same scale down method again. Once the pattern is complete, duplicate the finished pattern layer, then tap, hold and drag the second diamond pattern onto the previous one to create a new group. Hide the group. With the selected layer, repeat the scale down method 2 more times or more if you'd like to create additional pattern scales. Add the final completed pattern to the latest group. Double tap the group name and rename it Diamond Pattern 2. and collapse the group. Now we're going to add some colour. Tap the top group and add a new layer. This will act as your background layer. Fill this layer with any colour of your choice. Next, choose which tile you want to work with. Open the relevant group and duplicate the tile you'd like to use. Tap, hold and drag your chosen tile above the background layer you just filled. Then collapse the group to keep your layers easier to work with. Add a new layer and fill it with a colour that contrasts with your chosen background colour. Open the Layers panel. Tap this new layer and select Clipping Mask. This will apply the colour to the diamond pattern tile beneath it. Now swipe right on the diamond tile layer and the background layer, then tap Group. These layers are now part of a group which we can duplicate in exactly the same way as a layer by swiping left and selecting Duplicate. Once that's done, double tap the first group and select Flatten. This completed tile can now be exported and used as it is. Now we're going to work inside the top group. I'm going to show you how to create a two-tone version of your pattern using any colour of your choice. Pick any colour you like. Fill both the background layer and the clipping mask layer with that same colour, making sure the correct layer is selected each time before filling. Open the Layers panel and pinch the diamond tile and clipping mask layer together to merge them. On this merged layer, tap the N symbol. This opens the blending mode options. Scroll through and choose Multiply. You can also experiment with colour burn, linear burn, screen, overlay, soft light, hard light, or linear light. The result will depend on the tonal effect you prefer. Once you're happy with the look, merge or flatten the group. Your two-tone tile is now ready to export. Now, if you'd like to create a multicolour pattern, here's one way to do it. Add a new layer. Open the colour menu and in the disk panel, double tap inside the white area to select Pure White. Then drag the colour onto the layer to fill it. Next, open the Layers panel. Go back to the first pattern tile in any of the pattern groups and duplicate it. Tap, hold and drag it above the top layer you just filled. Then make sure it is visible. Now add a new layer. I'm going to show you how to fill the tile with 4 different colours, but there's really no limit to how many colours you can use. This is simply a technique you can use to experiment with different colour combinations. Choose your first colour and fill the new layer. Open the Layers panel, add another layer and fill it with a complementary or contrasting colour. Repeat this process 2 more times until you have 4 colour layers in total. When you have all 4 colour layers, open the Layers panel and swipe right on the next 3 coloured layers so they are selected together. Tap the Transform tool and drag the selected layers up to the top right corner. Use the snapping guides to place them accurately. Then deselect. Open the Layers panel and swipe right on the colour layer you want to keep in that corner to deselect it from the selection. Go back to the Transform tool and drag the remaining selected layers over to the top left corner. Deselect them. Open the Layers panel again and swipe right on the colour you want to keep in that corner. Tap the Transform tool and drag the remaining selected layers down. Deselect again. Open the Layers panel and swipe right on the next layer to deselect it. Tap the Transform tool and drag the final selected layer across to the right until it snaps perfectly into place. Deselect. Now open the Layers panel and merge the 4 colour layers together. Tap this merged colour layer and select Clipping Mask. Then merge the pattern tile, clipping mask and background together if you'd like one finished tile. With this new multicolour tile, simply use the scaling down method and repeat it until you're happy with the scale. And there we have it. Your diamond pattern tile is complete. Once you understand the scaling down method, you can use it to create lots of different pattern scales and colour variations from the same basic tile. Try experimenting with different backgrounds, blending modes and colour combinations to create a collection of designs that feel completely unique. When you're happy with your finished tile, you can export it and use it for print, products, digital designs or your own pattern collection. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope you enjoyed creating this pattern in Procreate.